Welcome to Ponchatoula Live, the show where we make it easy for you to connect with the people of Ponchatoula. I'm your host, Parker Layrisson, and as you could see a brief glimpse when the show started, I've got a very special guest. For the first time ever, 60 or so episodes into the show, we have royalty on the program. That's right, we have the 50th Strawberry Queen here with us today because it's that time of year. The Strawberry Festival is a mere weeks away. We've been waiting 2 years for Strawberry Festival, and it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be our 50th festival, and I just can't wait. So before we dig into talking about the Strawberry Festival and all the good things to come, let me tell you a little bit about our guest. She's one of my favorite people on the planet, as is her mom, her dad, her stepdad. The whole family is just great. And I've had the privilege of watching this young lady grow from a little girl into a very successful woman that you're going to soon meet. And she's just incredibly talented and sweet. And she's just wonderful in so many ways. So I could sit here all day and talk about how great Avery Meyers is, but you'd rather hear it from her. So Queen Avery Meyers, welcome to the show. Thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
We're very excited to have you. And why don't we begin with you just telling our viewers a little bit about yourself?
Yes, so of course I'm a Ponchatoula native, and so is majority of my family. A lot of people know my family, the Avery clan. We're a huge family. Even going into the Thibodeaux, and I'm related to half this town. I tell everybody, but
no doubt.
So growing up, my mom was Strawberry Queen in 1998, and that's kind of when this dream really started. A lot of her friends were also queens, and I grew up around them. And then, of course, your wife, Brandy.
Yeah.
She was one of my favorite queens, one of them. So
no
one can be upset.
You might get in a little trouble for that. So she's one of your favorite queens.
She was one of my favorite queens, for sure. But, I grew up in this town. I love strawberries. Right. I ate them as a child in the boardroom with sugar. And I always tell people that story because I would literally get the strawberries and the sugar and just eat them on up. But
we were known at my family, we get in a little trouble. The little Layrisson boys were known for double dipping with the sugar. Oh. So that's a big no-no. But right. That was before before we knew any better. So for you, this is really the culmination of a lifelong ambition. I think I recall, and correct me if I'm wrong, when you were just 3 or 4 years old, and it might have been my wife's year as queen, the newspaper interviewed you at one of the functions, and you told the newspaper in a quote they printed that you wanted to be Strawberry Queen one day. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Tell us about that. How do you even get quoted in the newspaper at 3 or 4 years old?
I vaguely remember it, but of course I still kind of remember it. I'm pretty sure it was at an older building in Ponchatoula. I don't believe it exists anymore. But of course my mom was royalty coordinator. She sat on the board for many years, and she absolutely loved it. That's kind of when, the journey, the story started for me. But I was always dressed in strawberries growing up, and I even had strawberry everything in my room. But of course, when I was 4 years old and I talked to the Ponchatoula Times, I just wanted to be Strawberry Queen. It was always a dream. I looked up to so many Strawberry Queens. Like I said, Brandy was one of them. I'm not going to list everybody because there are so many
there's too many.
But so I just always knew in my heart I wanted to represent this town and this community, especially the farmers. Growing up, now I kind of can tell, how much work the farmers put into strawberries. Not a lot of people know about it, but I have such a big heart for the farmers. I really do. And it just makes me super emotional and excited to represent them as well as Ponchatoula. So.
Well, I mean, you said it at the top of the interview. You're a Ponchatoula girl through and through. Yes. And it's something that started with family. And you mentioned your mom as queen. Wasn't your great-grandfather, Dennis Hebert, our longtime state representative, wasn't he Strawberry King before she was queen? Or do I have my timeline right?
He was actually Strawberry Queen the year before my mom was queen in 98.
Oh, cool.
I think he was king in 97. So
Yeah, very cool. Well,
really
we've interviewed your Uncle Bill Wheat, your Aunt Trish, and so many great things have been said about him. He was such a great man. But I remember because my dad was king somewhere in there in the 90s. I couldn't tell you what year. but he always thought the world of Mr. Dennis. And I think Mr. Dennis had been his basketball coach or something when he was a little boy. And,
Yes.
you know, your family goes way back. And of course, I had the privilege of going to high school with your mom and your dad, and your Aunt Renee, who was in our class
Right.
with your dad. And they're just such a fun family. And like you say, they love this town through and through, and they clearly pass that on to you. And
Yes.
before we ask more about your family, you know, your extended family here are friends. We've got our good friend Cortana Lewis, who was in that class of 95 at PHS. She comes on here to say, you know, her beautiful baby, Avery Meyers, her daughter and she, they just love you. And so she wanted to share that with you. Cortana and I sat next to each other in homeroom for 4 years. She's one of my dearest friends.
Yes.
I
I
just
love
love
her.
her. And like you, she's got a beautiful family,
She does.
wonderful
Yes.
parents, you know, great son
Yes.
and daughter. They just dynamite from top to bottom. And of course, we can't forget her sister. So, folks, if you're watching us live, like Cortana is, know that we have the ability to feature your comments here live on the show. So, please, you know, feel free to ask Avery a question if you have one about the festival, about being queen, or just to throw some encouragement out as Cortana's done here. But Cortana, I miss you, friend. Thanks for sharing that, and it's good to see you. So, getting back to you, Avery, in childhood, what's it like growing up? You know, in a family like the Bougere, Abair, Myers, popular. I mean, we're talking about multiple popular clans here, where your
Right.
family's kind of well known. I'm sure you can never go anywhere without people knowing that's so and so's daughter, granddaughter, etc. You know, what was
Yes.
your childhood experience like in Ponchatoula?
Honestly, I absolutely adored my childhood and being with such a huge family. We are huge. I mean, our Christmas parties to this day are just absolutely gigantic, but we have such a blast getting to see each other because we're such a big family. We all are into our own things, doing our own things, and when we do come together, it's such a pleasure, and I just love them so much. I really do. But growing up, I had to question, dating guys who, if they were my cousin or not, because this town is
That's
so
great.
small, but I mean, it's big, but
Yeah,
it's still small. So I always
yeah,
joke around and tell people that because you never know who your cousin is in this town. But yeah,
that's
I have
funny.
just loved it. I really have. I honestly am blessed to have been grown up here in
Yeah.
Ponchatoula for sure.
Yeah.
So
Well, and I think of your grandmother, Miss Marcy. It was, of course, who so many people know from PHS because she's such an icon out there and people love
yeah.
her. But she had such a patience with us kids because she was like the cool mom. We would go to her house and Renee was a very popular girl. As your mom was a few years behind me. Emily was too, but I was partying with that older crew. And I got to say, your grandmother had some patience with us because especially us boys. We were heathens, and all coming up through
Aw.
St. Joseph and PHS. She was just an angel, and as I've
Oh,
become a
she's
parent now,
definitely an angel.
she's just one of my heroes because she's just an awesome lady, as are so many members of your family.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about what your interests were as a kid because we're going to obviously, folks, get into the Strawberry Festival, and Avery's going to share, the plans for the festival and talk about her experience promoting our strawberry industry all over the state and really all over the country. She's been to Washington, D.C. and other places. But, before we get there, I would love to, dig a little bit deeper into who you are because I know you're such a multi-talented person. You're not just
Thank
a
you.
star student who's about to graduate from Southeastern, but you're a singer. You've got all this stuff going on. So when you were just a kid, just a little girl running the streets of Ponchatoula, what were you into? And then maybe we can get into how that evolved into, professional singing and all this other cool stuff that you've got going now.
Right. So as we mentioned earlier, my huge family, they actually love musicals. I grew up, my Aunt Paulette normally gets season tickets to the singers. So we grew up actually going to a lot of Broadway shows, and my family has always sang. My grandma Marcy, she was a wedding singer for many years,
Mm-hmm.
and so growing up in the kitchen, we would cook, and everybody would be singing. And me and Mama actually ate dinner the other night and cooked together, and we literally were singing and just jamming out. So that's kind of how the music thing started for me. It was just I just love music. I've just always had an ear for it and
Right.
wanted to get into the industry, and I still do actually. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's exciting, and we're going to ask you more about that. But before I get into it, I'd love to show. We've had a few more comments shared here, and Miss Rosemary Gardner makes a good comment. She says it's difficult to find anyone in Ponchatoula that didn't go to school with Bears or Myers,
Right.
and that's a good thing. So she says congratulations to you, Queen,
Oh,
and she's
thank you.
Ponchatoula proud. And she is not alone here. We've got several other really nice comments, including another incredibly popular former queen who served on the
Yes.
board like your
Another
mom.
favorite.
Your other yeah, you can say
Yes.
that. When you
Right.
said Brady was one of your favorites, I definitely knew
One of
Leslie
them.
was on that short list of yours.
Right.
She says she's so proud of you, and you make our city and our festival proud. I couldn't agree more. She says that she loves you. So Leslie, thanks for tuning in. You were a great queen. What's the old saying? It takes one to know one.
Right.
So you're definitely right there. And speaking of great ladies, our recent guest on the show a month or two ago, Mandy Braywick, says that you are an amazing young woman. And don't forget your awesome stepmother. Oh, good. Of course. How could I forget Paula? What an awesome lady. Thank you, Mandy. You've always got my back and helped me. Did not mean to omit her when listing your many great parents. And let me ask you about that. So you've got not one, not two, but four great parents co-parenting you, right?
Yes.
So why don't we give a little shout out to your parents and tell us a little bit about them and what they mean to you.
They mean so much to me. They all bring different ideas, and just they've made me who I am for sure. My dad loves to just support everything I do, and especially with music and just business minded. We did our goals for the year. He loves to do goals and manifesting and planning things out for my career and everything like that. So
which I just get a kick out of, because your dad, who's now the very successful Jeff Myers, was Fro to us, Jeff Fro Myers, and we just called him Fro Daddy back in the day.
Right.
So he's come a long way to be mentoring you with goal setting and all that. I love to hear that. What a great guy.
Yes. And then, of course, my stepmom, Miss Paula, she's amazing. I've known her since I was a little girl, like 2 or 3. And so she's my second mom, honestly. I grew up,
she's awesome.
She's definitely a mom to me. So I love her too. And then Clint, of course. I got to name
Speaking of nicknames, if I blast your dad, I got to blast Clint.
Right, we got to talk about
those of us that grew up in the 90s. Clint Hatfield is Cletus. So we're talking about Cletus here, but he's now a big time federal agent. He probably I might get arrested for blasting him out with high school nicknames. Clint, I promise I won't talk any more about the stuff we got up to in high school.
Right.
But, great guy. What's it been like being in his house growing up? Because he's such a great guy.
He's such a huge supporter. He seriously is another dad to me. Like, I have been so lucky to have the most amazing step parents in the world. I really do. And I always joke around saying, like, I didn't grow up. I grew up with double Christmases, so I got double the presents and all that, double the love. So that's, it was awesome. I love my parents. My mom's amazing as well. She's been the biggest supporter this year for Strawberry Queen, and we've enjoyed our time traveling together all over the place, and she's helped me get my outfits and all of that. So I'm just so grateful for her as well.
What a blessing, because, like you mentioned earlier, she was the royalty coordinator for a very long time. So really nobody knows the obligations, the duties, the hardships, the challenges, and the fun of Strawberry Queen better than your mom, because she was not a one and done queen who did it and got out of there and showed up for the ball every once in a while.
Right.
She stuck around and helped other queens have wonderful experiences.
Exactly.
So while we're on the topic of your parents and your step parents, what are some lessons you learned from them? Because I love, as we walk through this show, I've had the opportunity to interview 50, 60, maybe close to 70 incredibly successful people, and you're certainly among the best that I've interviewed. I love to get advice-oriented or lesson-oriented nuggets of gold from you guys. Last week we had Mike Fulmer, one of the most successful businessmen ever, and he talked about lessons both that he's come up with on his own, but that he learned from his parents and more. So, when you think about your mom, your dad, Paula, Clint, the people that raised you, what are some things that come to mind that you learned from them? And, just big or small, what was it like being their kid, and what did you take away from that childhood?
It honestly, it just was growing up, my parents were actually younger when they both had me. They were,
Mm-hmm.
I'm 22. My mom was, I believe, 21 when she had me. So she was a very young mom, and my dad was a very young dad. And so I always would joke around with my mom and ask her to pretend like she was my sister sometimes when we go in public places and just little stupid
Well, she could
childish
pass
stuff.
for them. I mean, I noticed
Yeah,
at the ball, she looks
she
super
still does
young.
pass for my
Yeah.
sister. Actually, people think that all the time when we go shopping. But I honestly, I learned so much. I've always been my mom's best friend, if that makes sense. We've always been
Mm-hmm.
really close friends. And same with my dad, you know, and that, I feel like that's just such an important thing, is to have great relationships with your parents and be able to talk about things with them. So that's definitely something I would say is a lesson that I've learned with them. And just, you know, one day having my own family and raising my own family, I definitely want to do that with my kids as well.
Yeah.
So
Well, you've got the perfect example from the four of them on
I
on
do.
on,
I've
on
been
what to
very
do.
blessed.
Yeah,
Very
for
blessed.
sure. But you have started with this incredibly strong foundation in family, but you've made the most of it and you've applied yourself. And things haven't come easy all the time, right?
Right.
For example, like many of our best strawberry queens, you weren't strawberry queen on the first try, right? So
Right.
you had to work for it and apply. So, I mean, what lessons do you take away from that? Because when I see you, I see a resilient young woman who is putting herself out there. You mentioned professional music career. I mean, that's got to be so hard to get out on stage and give it your best with people watching, judging, etc.
Right.
And like I said, the Queen thing, it took a few. What's that meant? What's that been like to kind of take those talents and blessings you've had and then go for it?
Yeah, so the Queen thing has always been a dream of mine. Like we talked about earlier with the newspaper article, you know, I was 4 years old telling Ponchatoula Times themselves, the newspaper reporters, I wanted to be Strawberry Queen. So obviously it was always in my heart. So when I did do the pageant the first year and the second year, and then COVID happened actually for the third time. So I always say it was kind of 4 times, but technically it was three
Yeah, I
times.
mean, at that point when COVID happens, a pandemic, you must have just felt
Right.
like this is the book of Job,
I was
and
like,
like you're just
what?
waiting for frogs to come out of the sky and
Right,
plague. I mean,
exactly. I
that
think
had
we
to be
all
tough.
were waiting for that, honestly. But
Right, right.
it was, you know, what you have to do in those situations is just pick up and know what you want to do. And if it means so much to you, you have to just pick up and keep going and just try
Right.
again. You know,
Yeah.
you get to a point where, yes, it hurts, and yes, you're upset because you want to represent, you want to experience the Louisiana Strawberry Queen title because it is a once in a lifetime experience. And that's why that is truly the reason I wanted the experience so bad that
Hmm.
I kept going. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then as it works out, and this is, evidence that God's plan is better than our own, right? You get to be the 50th Strawberry Queen. There you go. Queen
I don't know if you
50.
can see it. Yep.
Right. Yeah. No, we can see that on the screen well.
Okay.
And you have not only the 50th Strawberry Festival, you're the 50th
Right.
Queen. It's such a big deal. There's all these extras that go with that. But
Yes.
because we're coming off of a 2-year wait, I mean, people are dying for
They
Strawberry
are.
Festival
They are.
action. Yeah. And,
Yeah.
your friend, our friend, Cherie Kinchin Wells, who we all grew up with, chimes in kind of to that end. She talks about how exciting it's been to watch you shine during your reign. And God, she says right here, God's plans are perfect. And
Yes.
she can't think of a better year for you to be queen than 50th. So
Right. Right.
she says she loves you forever and always. And yeah, Cherie, thank you for tuning in. Well said. Please give your brother Kyle a hey for me. I miss that rascal. That's an old buddy of mine. Speaking of St. Joseph classmates and dear
Right.
friends from childhood. So, folks, we're here with Avery Meyers, the 50th Strawberry Queen. She's told us a ton about her background and upbringing, and it's just been great. Why don't we turn to the festival a little bit
Yeah.
and tell us about what's coming up? Correct me if I have my dates wrong here. I know you know them perfectly, but April 8th through 10th, right? That's
Right.
the big weekend. Tell us what we can expect, and if you don't mind, why don't we kick it off? Assuming I don't know that this is true, but what if somebody's watching this show and has never been to a strawberry festival, just moved to Ponchatoula, doesn't really know what to expect? Why don't we just talk, kind of in general, what's a strawberry festival, and then we can kind of dig into the details.
So, firstly, I do want to mention this Saturday, the 26th, is our Strawberry Day in the Park, and it's going to be right at Memorial Park, and we are going to have live entertainment. I'm pretty sure, yes. And then we are going to have a wing cook-off as well. And then also the farmers are auctioning berries. So that's, of course, a huge, amazing opportunity for people to
Thank
get
you
some
for
delicious
mentioning that.
strawberries. Yeah. So I did want to
The
mention
farmers
that
auction
first.
is such an important, and
Yes.
especially after 2 years with no festivals and all the bad weather these guys have had. So this is where our local farmers bring their best flat of berries, right? And they auction them off to the highest bidder. And
They're
it's so
beautiful
important to
too.
help us. We as a community, especially businesses, need to get in there and help these folks. And it really helps, help because it's hard to make a living with berries, which is why you see so few, farms around here still. So I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just want to thank you
No,
for
you're good.
shining a light on that. And I want to ask people, if you can, get out there. I promise you'll have a ton of fun. But if you help these farmers with their auction, you'll be doing a good thing too.
For sure.
So
It's going
please
to be a great
continue.
time. So that's, of course, one thing I definitely wanted to mention. But going into the festival, April 8th through the 10th, we do have, because this is a Ponchatoula interview, we do have on Thursday night, it's more of a family night. It's pretty small. Some rides aren't open. It's kind of just to get everybody really excited for the weekend. But then on Friday, we start the festival, I'm pretty sure, for 12. And we are super excited to have our festival. We haven't had it in 2 years. So we just hope and pray and know that it will be a huge 50th Strawberry Festival.
Oh, yeah.
So
We need it, folks. So, yeah,
we do.
if you can, mark your calendars, plan to be there.
Yes.
It's going to be a heck of a good time. And, of course, one thing about the Strawberry Festival, particular to Ponchatoula, is that it's integral to the support of our nonprofit community.
Yes.
A lot of folks don't realize that all of those booths on the festival grounds at Memorial Park and up 6th Street are run exclusively by nonprofits like the JCs, the Kiwanis, the Rotary. The list is long, but these are not carnies in it for the profit. Nothing against carnies. Those guys need to make a living too. But this is how, for example, my Rotary Club, this is how we fund scholarships and send kids off to college. And all these clubs are doing great things. And for many organizations, it's our primary fundraiser, maybe our only fundraiser all year.
Right.
I work with Mr. Danny Williams, who's the sponsor for the Key Club, and that's one of their biggest deals. And so many clubs are doing well with it. So it's so important, guys. These nonprofits have gone 2 years without their major fundraiser. And in addition to getting whacked by a hurricane and all that. So thank you for mentioning that. Now, I know, Avery, that there are a lot of fun activities at the festival. Of course, the entertainment is incredible.
It's going to be a great entertainment.
Yeah, can you tell us about that?
I don't know for sure every single person. I probably should have like a pamphlet in front of me right now.
Oh no, hey, look, don't sweat it. Just know that the entertainment will be good.
But
why don't you walk through some of the other stuff? Because I'm thinking here about egg toss and the different games, and I know that the Queen has to participate in things.
Oh yes,
judge stuff. What are you looking forward to, fun wise, at the festival?
I'm just honestly looking forward to going and just being with so many of my family members, so many of the board members, so many farmers. I do know some of the Rhinestone sisters are joining me on Saturday. So we'll all be in the parade. I actually am really excited for the parade. I really am.
So the Rhinestone sisters, these are the other queens from the other festivals around the state, right?
Yes. So
are you guys essentially kind of riding a circuit where you're shrimping petroleum this week and then strawberry that week? Tell us what that experience is like and about your travels throughout the state this year.
It is so much fun. I always like to tell people that I grew up loving strawberries. I grew up having strawberry everything in my room, but some of my friends grew up loving shrimp and going shrimping with their families, or frogging, or duck hunting. So it's just honestly so cool to be friends with girls that also represent huge titles that matter so much to them as well.
Right.
They love loving those festivals or those fairs. And I also have to mention my Tangy 5. We just had the Amy Oyster Festival last weekend, and then Sicilian was the weekend before. It was so much fun. But those are some of my girls for sure.
The Tangy 5, it sounds like Marvel comic book heroes or something. You guys have like, magic rings or something, and y'all hook up. Well, I can tell you that I know that those relationships last forever because I see it in my own wife. who,
Right.
yeah, I don't know how many. She was queen 34. So you do the math on how long it's been since she was queen. But to this day, she shares one of her 2 or 3 best friends in the world was her shrimp and petroleum queen, who was her
Yes.
roommate at Washington Mardi Gras. And, those two call each other all the time. I mean, no matter
Yep.
where they go in life, they're, in each other's weddings and all that stuff. And it's a relationship that'll endure.
It
Did you
is.
get a chance to go up to Washington and do
I
the Mardi Gras?
did.
Tell us about that.
Yes.
What was that like?
Oh, it was such a magical experience. That's true. I mean, you feel like you're a Disney princess, truthfully, going there.
Right.
Basically, what they do is they bring, for people that do not know, they bring Mardi Gras to DC. And literally, we have a whole huge parade inside of a hotel, and it's so neat. It's a huge Mardi Gras ball, pretty much. But you
Yeah,
celebrate for like
for
a
us
week.
old timers, that's a famous hotel. This is the Washington Hilton,
Yes.
which sadly this is where President Reagan was shot. I mean, I guess it's a good story because he lived and came back and thrived, but it was a very famous hotel for that. And downstairs they have this huge room,
Yeah.
and like Avery says, literally throw a parade indoors.
Huge
And
parade.
it's a blast. And all the queens of the major not every festival unfortunately can make the cut.
Right.
But for major festivals like Strawberry, Shrimp and Petroleum, Orange, they send their queens. And what do they send? Maybe 25, 30 queens? Do you remember the count? It
About,
seems like a
yeah.
lot,
They do. And they also have princesses that go up there
right?
and also kind of experience everything with us. So I did
Yeah,
actually meet some princesses that live around this area, and they were really sweet. Came
very
from
cool.
great families. So I
Yeah,
had the
yeah.
best time.
Yeah, no, it's a blast. I was blessed to be a member of the crew. And when Brandy and I started dating, we met at the Strawberry Festival. And Avery, you may know this. Your
Oh,
mom actually introduced us. I
yes.
was working for the Rotary, up there trying to raise some money for Dollars for Scholars. And your mom and my now wife Brandy were sitting in the park, maybe getting ready to watch a show or something. And I thought, man, that pretty girl with Emily Bougere sure has good posture. And your mom was
Aw,
about
she
to get married.
does. She is
Yeah.
definitely a queen.
So long story short, Emily introduced us and we fell in love. And I couldn't, maybe if I was a better romantic, I would have proposed at the Strawberry Festival. That would make for a better story, but I couldn't wait that long. So I
Yeah.
proposed at the Washington Mardi Gras, knowing that
Wow.
Brandy had enjoyed being up there at first as a queen and then with
Okay.
me. But you're right, it's a great time, and I'm sure you made great relationships up there.
Very
You
cool.
mentioned kind of going around the state. Can you give our viewers a feel for how other festivals differ from Strawberry? Because growing up, I grew up like you here in Ponchatoula, through and through, bleed red, and
Right.
you know, when I got a chance to go to some other festivals, say the Zawali Tamale Festival, the Rain Frog Festival, you go to these places, and it's like you've always thought a festival was the Strawberry Festival, which is
Right.
giant and hugely successful. You go to some of these places, and it's like that. So what's your experience been like going to festivals all over the state? And can you just kind of draw some comparisons so we get a
Yeah.
feel for how great and big ours really is?
So actually, the Ponchatoula Strawberry Festival is the second free largest festival in the state in comparison to Mardi Gras. A
Oh
lot of people
wow.
actually don't realize that. So that is why growing up around here, we all think Ponchatoula Strawberry Festivals. I mean, it is a huge festival. We have over 500,000 people that come to Ponchatoula that weekend. So it just blows my mind that so many people can fit in this small town. But yeah, traveling all over the state has been really interesting. In the beginning of my reign, some actually Shrimp and Petroleum got canceled, so I wasn't able to go to that one, which was sad. But my friend Caroline, who's the Shrimp and Petroleum Queen, told me that we can go to the next festival as past queens and just
Oh,
go have
nice,
fun. So
nice.
I'm still gonna get to experience it.
Yeah.
But other festivals, they are a little bit smaller, but they still love what they do. They are there to represent something important to them, especially their boards. And, it's just, it's so cool, like I said earlier, to be queens with other girls that also are so passionate about the
Yeah.
titles they represent. One of my friends that I actually roomed with in DC, her name's Avery as well. So we were the two Averys. She's
That's
Farm
cool.
Bureau Queen. And
Uh-huh.
she actually, her major for school is is, of course I'm blanking. She wants to go into agriculture. That's what it is.
Oh, cool.
But she's so passionate about what she represents. So talking with her on the plane, all we really talked about honestly was farming and the farming industry, and not just strawberries, but every farming industry in Louisiana, and why it's so important. Why helping farmers and supporting farmers is so important. So I have just loved traveling the state. I really have. I've met so many amazing girls my age that they just love what they do. They're so passionate for what they do. They're even going into those industries once they give up the title. So
yeah, like you say, the Farm Bureau Queen's going into farming and
amazing.
agriculture. That's
Yes,
really cool.
she is.
Well, if you don't mind, I want to share a few more quotes because you've got several people making comments here, including I guess she's your cousin, Jill Abear.
Yes.
Abear family being so big, I have a hard time remembering whose uncles, whose aunts, and whose cousins. But Jill, of course, is a local legend we all love. She says she's so proud of you and that you're beautiful. Jill, thank you for sharing that. Of course, you're right. Trisha Nicholas, one of the best ladies in town, so she can't wait for the festival. It's going to be a great year. And Trisha, who's got the sweet shop here in town, Tula Berry, is just dynamite. We did our little league party there a couple of weeks ago for my little bitty basketball team, and she pulled out all the stops. She had everything decorated for basketball, and our kids got sugar comas coming out of there with ice cream and other treats. And
I love it.
My boys just love her. They remember her from their Strawberry Castle days. And I should have known when I started saying nice things about Cortana Lewis that her beautiful sister Tamara was going to get on here.
Yep.
And she says that you look gorgeous, Avery, and you are amazing and as beautiful inside as you are out. And you're not just beautiful, you're very talented and super intelligent. And London Williams and she loves you. And heck, her whole darn family loves you, but you already know that. Good to see two beautiful Miss Lewises chiming into the show. It was a blessing to go to school with them. Mr. Bob and Nat Lee, they say very proud of you, Queen. Thank y'all for tuning in. And speaking of London Williams, here she is saying you're so beautiful.
Aww, so love her.
Okay, thank y'all for sharing your comments. If anybody else is watching, feel free to comment. We're here with Strawberry Queen Avery Meyers. She's talking about her experiences traveling the state. And you mentioned when talking about your other queens how proud they were to represent their communities and their boards. So I'd like to ask you about our board, because when I view the Strawberry board, I mean, you have the unique view not only as queen, but as the daughter of a former board member. Having seen your mom, you know very well how many hours go into that. I mean, it is like adding another job. And I mean, Lord forbid you become chairman, then it must be like a full-time job. But these are folks that are serving our community. They're essentially putting on a multi-million-dollar, multi-day Superfest here. And they're doing it for free as service to the community, as opposed to people getting paid to do that. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what your board means to you, and maybe just tell us about the board in general? Because I feel like a lot of people just show up to the festival, have a great time, and we just kind of think this whole thing magically appeared, and don't think about the volunteers putting the hard work in. So would you mind giving them a little shout out?
Yes, of course. I absolutely, first I got to just say this, love my board. We had our ball a month ago, and it was just absolutely beautiful. It was the most perfect ball I could have ever imagined. I walked in Chesterton Square, and it was gorgeously decorated. They spent so many hours doing that, and putting on the festival is a lot of work, like you have mentioned. It is just, you would never guess it or know it until you sat in at a board meeting, and we go through, of course, like pretty much like an itinerary of keeping like an outline of keeping in order everything, and everybody has their own job. They all have to do their own jobs outside of the board meeting, and like you said, they're doing it for free. They're doing it because they love it. They love the festival. They want the festival to happen, so my board is amazing. I'm biased to say this, but my board is definitely one of the best boards around. So many people.
And what amazes me is so many people come back year after year after year. And you look at folks, like, I think of like the Garafolas or Donald Lanier or Jeff Wright or any of these folks. They've been around for decades serving these boards, and it's just amazing.
They
And
make it happen, you know, they
yeah,
make the
yeah,
festival happen.
yeah,
Obviously, the farmers as well. We wouldn't have a
of
purpose
course.
without the
Yeah.
farmers. But my board, you know, they do the work and put it on, and it's awesome. I'm so excited for the festival.
Yeah.
I really am.
And you know, you're right. They do a great job, as you do, of focusing on the farmers first and foremost, of promoting them. We
Yes.
see that, you know, so often we get farmers as kings. You know, we don't have enough strawberry farmers, folks, to make a different one, you know, king every year, because sadly we don't have 50 strawberry farms in the area anymore. But we certainly seem to do it as much as we can, and to promote them through things like the berry auction that you mentioned is going to be this weekend.
Yes.
But you also promote, you know, other royalty. And in a moment, I'm going to ask you about your other royalty. But you know, we were talking earlier about one of your favorite queens, Leslie Fontenot's tune, and I think she, you know, she was an MC at the ball, did a great job. But I think she called them the has-beens. Is that the sorority of former queens?
Yes,
But
pretty much.
you know,
They're
being
actually,
married to one, I love how you guys brought them into the fold this year for the 50th, and
yes.
all of them got to be there, be presented with you, be photographed with you. It just seems like y'all have created this little family environment, and now it's like the Abair clan, a large extended family, 50 years and counting.
Yes.
But it's really neat. So why don't we talk about other royalty? You've been, you know, blessed with a really neat king, one of the most fun guys around, Carl Wells. What's it been like serving with him and traveling with Carl Wells?
Oh my goodness, it's an ongoing joke because actually in DC the girls thought he was my grandpa. And I was like, no, he's my king. So I had to mention
That's
that.
great.
They're probably getting a laugh out of that one. But you know, Mr. Carl, it's gonna make me emotional. I'm gonna try not to cry, but he is amazing. Like here I go. But
Hey,
he is just, I mean, the things he's one of the first pioneers to put on the Strawberry Festival. So
right.
to stand next to him is like such an honor because if he, and actually my grandpa, Dennis Aper, there were a couple other people as well, representatives and politicians that, you know, but they all put it on and it makes me so emotional. He knew my grandpa, he knew my great grandpa, and he can tell me stories about him and my family, and he is just, it's an honor to be next to him as the
Yeah,
50th Queen
he's such a neat
King.
guy, and you know, like your family, his family, you know, taking it to the next generation. His son Kelly, what a hoot! What a great
Yes,
asset to our
love him.
parish, our community. You know, just wonderful folks out there, and their whole clan. What about your grand marshal? What a sweet lady she is. Miss Margaret was on our show here a while back, gave us a really sincere and wonderful interview. She's just so neat, and herself the, you know, mother of queens and
Yep.
whatnot. So tell us about her. What's it been like having her on the trail with you?
Miss Margaret's amazing, you know, and like I said earlier, I think I'm most excited for the parade. So
Hmm.
I know she is excited for that as well. But Miss Margaret is just the sweetest lady I've, you know, ever met as well. They are, all of my royalty is extended family. They truly are. We have
Yeah.
gotten so close. We have done so much together. You know, I see them almost as much as I see my grandma. So they're honestly family to me. But yes, I love Miss Margaret. She is amazing, and her daughter Emily was also Strawberry Queen. She's one of my mom's best friends.
She's one of your favorites. You can say it. I
Yes,
know
she's
she's on
definitely
the
one of my
list.
favorites. But so it's so neat to actually be like in the royal family with all of these lovely, amazing people because we all are connected in some way to the strawberry industry or the board or royalty. All of our families have been involved. So it's so neat to
Hmm.
see the generations from their kids as well be queens or kings or, you know, it's just, it's such a neat year. It really is.
Yeah.
It really
And
is.
this year you guys actually grew the family. You added a new position in the Strawberry
Yes.
Blossom. So
Yes.
tell us about Miss Willie Mae Cummings and how it's been having her added to the mix.
Miss Willie is so amazing. And, you know, she was a farmer. So it's so
Oh
awesome to
wow.
hear from her, her stories and her experience farming. And it's so funny because sometimes at the meeting she'll chime in like and tell us about farming and everything. And I love when she makes those comments because she knows what they're going through. She knows what they've dealt with. And I love hearing her stories. And her daughter Brandy was also a Strawberry Queen. So it's just like I said,
Yeah, all
such a
these
neat
great
year.
connections. Yeah,
Yes, but
that's
I love my
wonderful.
Blossom for sure. She's
Yeah.
she's just the cutest.
Well, thank you for sharing that. What do you think I mean, you mentioned you're looking forward to the parade, maybe first and foremost. Um, what have you been warned to watch out for as queen? I mean, I would imagine that being Strawberry Festival queen is a lot like being a bride in that it's overwhelming. And although on paper it's this many hours, it goes by like that,
Right.
and then it's done. Having all these other former queens or what, mothers of queens and all this in your life, have they kind of helped prep you and warned and coached you up on? Because I remember, when Brandy and I were getting married, all these dear friends would say, don't forget to A, B, C. And I was so glad they did. Have you gotten good tips on kind of what to expect and what to look out for?
Yeah, so traveling all over the state and going to all these other Queens festivals and fairs has definitely kind of helped. DC Mardi Gras definitely, it was a 4-day weekend, and so it was a
Yes.
very long,
It's a
we got up,
marathon.
went, and then that night we partied, and then the next day we did it all over again. So I think I'm well prepared for the festival. I'm probably going to be a little tired, but it's going to be worth it for sure. I mean, I've tried 3 times for this title. We waited 2 years for a festival. I'm just ready to do it, but I am excited to announce that Samantha Aber, the past Strawberry Queen 49, she is actually going to be Strawberry Queen with me the Saturday of our festival.
Very cool.
I am super excited for that as well.
Yeah, good for her. That's great.
Yes. So there will be 2 crowns running around.
2 for the price of 1.
Yes.
Well, you have your admirers, and we mentioned Trisha earlier. She's come back on here to comment that Avery, you are really beautiful, and she is so glad that you're representing us in this 50th festival. And I know that so many folks in town feel that way. You've been very generous with your time, and I promise I won't keep you much longer. But before we let you go, we've spent all this time talking about your background, your upbringing, the experience as queen, and what you've taken away from it. Tell us a little bit about what you have planned for the future, because I know you're a senior in college. You're going to be graduating soon. What's your plans for the future? What are your goals? You mentioned you and your dad been setting goals. Tell us about that if you don't mind.
So honestly, a lot of things are up in the air as far as career-wise because, and I don't want to sound silly when I say this, but I do have so many interests and so many hobbies that I feel like I'm very good at and passionate about. So honestly, a lot of my life, I guess, is up in the air as far as now. I'm a senior, but I'm the first semester senior, if that makes sense. I graduate in December, so I still have a little time to figure out. But I just always tell people I want to do what I'm passionate about. I want to do something that I love and just want to put all of my time and energy into. So yeah, it's kind of everywhere. I am a singer. I do photography. I do makeup and hair on the side. So who knows? My dad's in insurance. My mom's in real estate. I would love to do both of those as well. On top of my degree. So, it's kind of like so many options, so many things, but I'll figure it out as I go. And I know that I'll do what I love. So.
Well, I love that you kind of leave the door open to try multiple things, because I think too many people just narrowly lock in and think I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this forever. And while you're chatting, I pulled this photo down. I don't know if you can see this, but in this photo, you'll recognize your great grandfather. Dennis Bear is in there. Oops, sorry. And here's my dad over here. I brought this photo up to share because people know my dad as the sheriff, right?
Right.
Just like everybody knew Mr. Dennis as the state rep.
Yes.
But these guys were so much more. They didn't just have one career in life. They did a bunch of stuff. My dad was, speaking of insurance, an insurance adjuster. He was a high school teacher, a coach, a truck driver, a wildlife agent. I mean, he did all these things. And, he found something he loved and was passionate about, and he stuck that out till retirement, 25 years. But don't feel like you have to find that final destination at age 22 or age 23. I mean, enjoy your life and try things. And it sounds like you already have that figured out. But I really admire that, because I didn't get that when I was in my 20s. I don't think I figured that out maybe till recently. So I can't thank you enough. You've really shared so much of yourself and done a great job, as you always do, of promoting the festival. Before we go, is there anything else on your head, on your mind, on your heart, just anything at all you'd like to share with our viewers before we end the program?
Well, first I'm going to shout out to my little brother, Caston, because I'm sure he'll watch this and think it's so cool. But
way to go.
So
Great
yes,
kid.
I just want to, I guess, thank everybody that has watched this, and of course invite y'all to the 50th Ponchatoula Strawberry Festival. We are so over the moon excited for this festival. Honestly, I want it to just be about everybody, if that makes sense. Like, I know I'm the queen, and I know I represent the Strawberry Board and the festival itself, but I want everybody to come here and feel like a queen or a king and just have the best time, be in the community, support everybody, support local shops, support local farmers, and just truthfully have the greatest time. Seriously, we waited 2 years for this, so I hope with this interview and everything, anybody who wants to come up to me, come take a picture, wear your strawberry gear, and get ready.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, we can't wait. Thank you so much for that
so
invitation and for doing such a great job. You have made a proud community prouder by representing us well all over the state and even all over the country. So, folks, there you have it. I told you she would impress you, and I hope you don't think that I lied, because she's incredible.